So we're down here on the island. We got us a little workstation set up as usual. We've got the JFJ Easy Pro. We've got stacks of games here. We've got a lot of resurfacing to do. Some of these need them, some of them don't. All of them should be listed. We need that money going right back into the project for more hunts. We're gonna take care of that right now. Today is about catching up. We've got to get all these cleaned up, buffed up, tested, put in better boxes if necessary, and listed. You better get ready to do some work. And as we go through the video today, any of these that sell during the production of this video, I'm going to throw them up on the screen, let you know when they sold, how much they went for. It's important to know how quick of a flip certain games are. Now in the past, in the comment section, some of you have asked me about the resurfacing process. It's not something we need to spend a whole lot of time on. As I do some of these, I'm going to run through with you really quickly the steps I take on each disc. So starting up, we've got the disc attached. It's ready to go. And we start first with compound number 2, the white compound. You want to shake that real good. Make sure everything's good and mixed in. We're just going to get a couple dots on there. You don't want to get it too nasty. Then we're going to butter that bagel. Butter that bagel. We're going to get all of the surface area covered with it. Don't want to get it too wet. We just want to make sure the pad is fully covered in it. All right, let's close it up. And we're going to do 1 minute of the white compound. Let's go. We got the blue compound, compound number 1. That's next. Got the disc back on. We're going to do 1 minute of compound number 1. And there we go. Back to the sink again to get the excess off, and then we're just going to wipe it dry. Get that microfiber cloth again. Get it looking good, and as you can see, there'll still be a little bit of some, swirl, scratch indications there, but, that's better than it was. At a glance, it's clean. It's going to play. You can really see the before and after in these discs. They look so much better once they've been run through, and yeah, as long as we're not talking really deep scratches, you get a winner almost every time. Now, if you test these when you're done and they work, and you always should, great, you're done, right? But sometimes you're going to run across one that it's just not reading, or you may start off with a disc that's got a little bit more damage than you'd like to see. That's when you get into sanding. You want to avoid sanding if at all possible, but sometimes you can't avoid it. You'll run up on discs like this sometimes that have these almost look like teeth mark scratches in them. They're so deep that often, just a regular buff job, not going to get those out. And sometimes sanding won't either, not completely. Maybe just enough though to where it will read and it will play. The sanding is also a two-part deal. You have a coarse and a fine sanding pad. You get the disc in there, and I like to still do 1 minute on those as well, both pads. Once you've sanded the disc for 1 minute on both sanding pads, it's time to go through the steps of the compound and the compound pads on the same disc, and that will finish it off. And Lord willing and the creek don't rise, you got you a working disc there. But sometimes you don't. Again, you definitely want to test all of these after you're done with this. Don't ever trust that you fixed it just because it looks good. I'm going to go ahead and get all of these done up and get all of these listed, and then we got to move on. It's going to be time to look at some consoles. To start with, we've got this fat PS3. It's yellow lighted, but it is the 4 USB banger, so great. It's even in this condition, it's worth 3 times what I paid for it. I don't feel like fixing it, so just gonna list it, get our money back, and a little bit of profit too. If you remember last week, we picked up a super cheap Wii. $5 for this thing. Wasn't in the best shape I've ever seen a Wii in, but again, $5, who's gonna leave it there? We got the old girl right here. We're gonna go ahead and plug her up. We're gonna see if it works, 1, and 2, is there a mystery game? I love that part. The ceremonial ejecting of the disk drive. Let's go. So upon plugging up this Wii to the power brick, I see a red light, but the unit didn't want to cut on at all. After some finagling, it eventually powered on, but didn't want to eject its contents. And there was a good reason for that, because some idiot crammed a Blu-ray into this thing upside down. I mean, what? I mean, there's just no limit to the abuse some systems take over the course of their lifespan. It's awful. Powering on was intermittent for this unit while testing it, so that means either the power supply is bad or this console is smoked. Well, my worst fears are confirmed. This Wii is no good. It powered on one time, allowed us to get the discount, and that's it. It's got a red light, but it won't power on. Maybe the power supply is bad, but I'm leaning more toward the whole console is bad. And you know, if the parts are good, the parts are worth more than what we paid. We find a lot of Wii's, so you know, I'm hesitant to call this a loss, but yeah, we can at least sell the console for parts, get our money back, and put the actual parts in our backup stash. Alright, so we've looked at some stuff, we've fixed some stuff, we've sold some stuff. Now let's get back out in the field and see what's going on. Back into the fray. So this dude's got some wild stuff on his table, and I wanted to include the audio from these clips, but some numbnuts had his radio going nearby, so I couldn't. But I felt this was worth taking a look at. The guy had a couple of plug-and-plays on his table that I've never seen before. These are Golden Tee units. And again, never seen these. It looks to be the only game on these things, but it's got the trackball on them and some buttons. I don't know, it looks pretty neat, and the guy's only wanting $5 a piece. But my number one fear with plug-and-plays is that the batteries have been left in them for over a decade and that they've exploded. And that there's no way to fix them because sometimes the corrosion, the damage is just far too great for these things to come back from, for them to be repaired. But still, I look on eBay and I see that these things are going for about $30 if they're working. It may be worth taking a shot on these. But this guy being honest to a fault, I mentioned the possibility of the batteries and he whips out a screwdriver and starts opening these things up, and sure enough, not only are the batteries in them and busted, they're like mega busted. The posts on them are just completely corroded to the point of just almost just being disintegrated, so there's just nothing I can do with these, and it's such a heartbreaker because you know I love plug-and-plays. But yeah, unfortunately, there's just no saving these. I appreciate the guy taking the time to check, though, because he honestly didn't know, and saved me $10 and some heartache. Alright, so this is a big book of cards, right? And not only is it sports cards, which you know I'm interested in, but it's a bunch of Marvel cards, looking to be like some 90s skybox trading cards of all kind of different characters. I have no idea what these are worth, but this is kind of neat to see in this quantity. I want these. You selling these cards?
Yeah.
How much you getting on these?
Take $20 for the whole book.
Yeah, I don't want to pay $20 for these. I mean, condition is everything on cards, any kind of cards, and the condition is not great on a lot of these, but that's because a lot of these are pretty old, right? I mean, the sports cards in here are dating all the way back to the early 60s. I think some of these Marvel cards will hold up. It'll just be interesting to see what they're worth, but I don't want to be in at $20. Would you take 10? Some of them are kind of rough, but I mean, I'd take a shot on it.
How about 15?
I mean, if they were in a little better condition, yeah. But I can do 10. Will you do 10? How about 12?
All right, we'll do 12.
All right, let's do 12. So after some back and forth, we settle on 12 bucks, and I'm cool with that. I'm cool taking a risk on these for 12 bucks, and they may very well be worth more than what we paid. In a future update video, I'd like to take a look at these Marvel cards and see if any of them were actually worth something significant. As far as the sports cards, we'll check out the value on those on Sports Card Hub, because that's where we do that stuff. But yeah, a pretty good grab for 12 bucks. I'm confident I'm going to make some money on these. So that's it for this week. A fun little update video. You know I love update videos, and if you love update videos, I'm going to put a link to another one right here that you might have missed, so you can jump right into some more action. More action coming your way real soon, right here on the Emceemur Show. Emceemur signing out for this fantabulous episode, and I will see each and every one of you again next time.